Hi guys, hope everyone's doing well. Today I'm going to be looking at the Verdun maps and looking which ones are the best and which are the worst. There's no particularly bad map I would say in Verdun, it's just personal preference. If you disagree, just comment below and I like to have a discussion and things, and hopefully you enjoy. Cheers.
Number 9.
I think this map will come at the bottom of most people's lists. I'd say there's a few reasons why I'd put this at the bottom. Firstly, the light isn't too great on this map compared to the other ones. It's quite difficult to see. But not only that, you've got the issue with that you can't run over the top of the trenches. Now, I suppose after the update, where barbed wire now doesn't kill you, it is sort of easy to run over the top, but it's still a pain in the arse. You'd still rather just run through the sort of trench lines that they've got for you. Just because it's quicker to get to the enemy. Now, the issue with them trench lines that they give you is that a lot of people lie down with MGs and you just can't do anything, you can't go far, and it can be quite boring sometimes, and again the lighting doesn't help, and I think often with dark maps it's a bit depressing, you know. But yeah, definitely put this one at the bottom. Now, one of the reasons the main reason I've put this map so far down the list is because of this hill, which you can see in the gameplay. Now, there's only one somewhat easy entry into this trench, which is on the far right, but usually that's defended by an MG. Now, if you've got a well-worked defensive team, it's almost impossible to take this hill because they've got the clear advantage looking down onto the enemy, and there's no easy entry points other than the one that I mentioned before. But again, that's not always easy because a lot of people tend to defend that more, as it's the only point of entry. Smoke screens are obviously effective against the enemy on this one, but it's hard running up the hill, and the terrain isn't easy either. And once you push past the main sort of trench line, this hill, the terrain gets even worse. You've got some big sort of shell holes and stuff, and it's not the most fun of maps. I would say it's very standard. Now this map's very sort of conflicted with me because I like the inside part of this map. It's very unique. The fort itself is really interesting to attack. You've got some great up-close gameplay. It's good for using your bayonet, your grenades, your sort of MGs. It's good for everything. It's a really fun map when you're in this section. However, the sections before this, or the trench lines before this, aren't fun at all. The sort of way the map's set up makes it really difficult to attack. It also makes it difficult to defend in certain situations. It all sort of depends on how the enemy team plays. And it's very open. It's very open, and the terrain is a pain in the arse to sort of manoeuvre around, and I think that's why I've put it so far down in the list. However, as I said, when you're inside the fort, the gameplay is really fun, and the map is growing on me more. But for now, I'm still going to put it low. Now, Flanders again is another map I'm conflicted on because the first trench line that you're in is fantastic because a lot of the gameplay is centered around the bunker box that they have. A lot of guys like to put their MGs in there, so you can always call sort of gas on there and grenades. And it's also a map where you can flank really well. Now, the only issue is for me is that after the first trench line, they get a bit boring. They're a bit open. There's not much scenery. The smoke screens become difficult. The terrain often becomes difficult to manoeuvre around, and it's just not as fun. It's a bit bland, this map, after the first trench line. But the first trench line itself offers some sort of good gameplay scenarios, I suppose, but that's why I have to put it low for me, this one. But it's still a great map. It's still worth playing if you're new to the game. So the reason I've put this map so high up is because I love it for sniping. I think the sniping abilities on this map are fantastic. It doesn't matter what side of the trench you're on, you can have a really good time because the map is so open, it's so big that you can often pick people out. And if you're like new to sniping, you want to get used to it, play this map because it gives you a good opportunity to sort of test your skills on range and stuff. But it's sort of, if you miss, you don't get punished for missing on this map. Other maps, if you miss, you get punished for it. But you have the sort of a chance to hit them again on this one. But the main issue with this map is you have to run so fucking far to get into a trench. If you've got a shit NCO and you can't spawn on him, you're fucked. Which is my main issue with this map. It's just the running. So you need to make sure you have a decent NCO who's always in the enemy trench, or at least close by, for this one. Now, one of the reasons I really like this map is because the range of abilities and sort of scenarios, gameplay scenarios, I mean, that it offers you are sort of endless. Now, the way the terrain's set up, it always makes it interesting. It gives you the ability to use a sniper, a machine gun, you know, a rifle, pistol, anything. It's really good. The first trenches you're playing are really good, but also the backline trenches are really unique. So usually the Allied factions have like a really small trench that they fall back to, which is really interesting to attack and defend. And then the German trench that they fall back to is a massive trench, a really big trench, but it's on top of a hill. So it's really interesting. It's a really good map. There's cool little features. They've got sort of little hills which you can snipe from and stuff. And I find it really fun. But it's another one where it's got a good mix of open areas but also covered areas, so you get that sort of dual ability in gameplay and things. So again, it's one I really enjoy, definitely. I think the highlight of this map for me is the close quarter combat, and it's like no other probably in the game, I wouldn't say. But you also have to be really careful if you're playing offline mode and you've got friendly fire on and stuff. You have to be careful about each shot you take, each grenade you throw, where you call your gas and where you call your mortars in, and it allows you to think a lot more. Because it's a smaller map, it allows the command wheel to be more effective because you as a team, as a squad, are more close together to work together, you know. And it's a really fun map to play. It's definitely the smallest map in the game, but certainly one of the best. And if you're new to the game, it's a really good map to practice, especially in squad defence where you've got waves of enemies running at you constantly. It's a great map. Now this is up there with my sort of favourite maps on the game. The reason being is because, well, firstly, it's quite bright, it's easy, it's clear to see, it's an interesting map. It's also a unique map, the way it's set up, the terrain that's used. The trenches aren't very deep, they're quite easy to get into, especially when you're attacking the sort of a double trench line you have to go in, and you have to make sure you claim both of them. A lot of the gameplay can be centred down the middle, where there's sort of smaller trenches where people sort of try to crawl up, but then there's also room for flankers on the left and right of the trenches, so it makes for a good mix of gameplay. Again, it's one of these maps where you can use snipers and MGs and sort of every weapon in the game, but for me I love snipers on this map, and rifles in particular. But also the backline trenches on this map are really fun, and often if you get in a really good game, you can sort of do really quick counter attacks and you can push the enemy quite far back. And as I say, the backline trenches are really fun and unique as well. So overall, a great map, and it's one of the best, if not, well, yeah, it's the best original map that was in the game, definitely. So this map is currently my favourite map in the game, and it's also the sort of most new map in the game. It came with the big update at Christmas. Now, I don't know if I love this map just because it's new and it's something fresh to the game, and I've played the game for like 3 or 4 years now. I don't know if that's the reason, maybe it is, but I actually just like the gameplay and how the map works. I like the middle trench. Again, it's got sort of mixed, it gives you all these different scenarios where you can flank and things like that, but what I often find with this map, which is particularly unique I'd say, is all the gameplay evolves around the very first trench you attack or defend, and it seems to be a standstill all game, which means you can get some really good combat scenarios in and things, and I enjoy that about the game. I like the grittiness of this game, and you can really get that from this map, and also some of the scenery in this map's amazing, and I just think it seems fresh and it's new, and probably that's why I like it the most, I think.